You can imagine I singing, it was dark, 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 me and the Melda lying alone. What if I took that, I went something like that, right? So,
once it starts, you gonna question Beethoven?
I'd say Beethoven. I said Ludwig.
Ludwig?
9. I needed to tell the story to the audience. I feel as though I'm in the way. So even if I'm with a band and I'm accompanying calypso and a choir is singing, I as a band director will keep the band in time. But the choir, their job is to get the story out. So that's why I am a big advocate for not conducting calypsos. Every time I see somebody stand up in front of a calypso or folk ensemble, I just be like, get out. You're in the way. Move.
Yeah.
Because it's supposed to be.
Because you are hindering the storytelling. You can imagine I singing, it was dark, 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 in a big, big park. I felt like a king up on the throne, and I watching the conductor, me and the Melda lying alone. And I heard her talk, as opposed to it was dark, 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 in a big, big park. It's about, I'm telling the story to the audience and the conductor. You know the story?
Well, something to think about, just to throw in the mix as well too, like it has a very practical sense too, right? Like if there is a very practical way of because one of the basic jobs of all conductors is starting together, ending together.
Wow, yeah.
So if the piece could allow for that, like in calypso, you could have like a rhythm section, dum dum para para para, and then we go.
Yeah.
All right. Then you don't really need the conductor. You don't need the motivation. You give the motivation in rehearsal, and then the ensemble take off. When he did calypso music with the choir, I remember he was conducting, but you could still see the members of the choir engaging with the audience too, you know. So there is a little room to melee there too, you know.
Yeah, no, I don't think you're wrong, and people do it.
Yeah.
It's not that they don't, and that's why but for the reasons that I've stated, I really do feel as though the conductor blocks the end between the audience and the performers. But something you say here is very important, and you said it's about how it's packaged. So,
Talking about the instrumentation and the form of the piece in particular.
Yes, let's say how we typically perform choral calypso music. Any regular choral arrangement, like a Desmond Waite arrangement, one of mine, some of the ones that we've done at UE, none of those are so packaged that it cannot exist without
a conductor. Okay.
I think all of those arrangements can be done without conductor, at least without conducting the choir.
Yeah.
Because I know that Desmond Waite arrangements have pretty meaty orchestrations, right? However, with the packaging of, let's say, like a Dr. Henry symphony, we know it has Caribbean elements in it. We know that it requires an understanding of the Caribbean experience. But it is still packaged as a symphony.
Yes.
So the themes and the material might be Caribbean, but the delivery of it is still a symphony. I can understand like use of the folk music and all of those things doesn't make it folk. It might be folk inspired, but the style is still
definitely
classical.
I agree with that. Yeah, that makes a
ton
of sense.
So in the situations where we do folk and calypso arrangements for choirs, it's not the same as saying I'm taking a folk theme and creating a choral classical work. It is that I am taking a calypso or folk piece and arranging it while maintaining its style for choir. That's why I'm more inclined to
lack of a conductor in that sense.
Yeah,
no, that makes sense. Now, one thing I also kind of throw in here is that I think to a certain degree it's kind of easier lack of a conductor with choir than orchestra.
1,000%.
Partially, and I applaud what Dr. Ferdinand, because I was just watching some of his videos the other day as well too. I applaud what he does with his choir, where they have to be able to like sing everything from memory, because that just forces you to engage with each other more. Sad to say, I mean, what happens in the orchestral world is that sometimes you have an orchestra of people, they're going from gig to gig. So they just plop in, play, next gig, plop in, play. That's why they need the paper. I get all my experience is orchestra. I have very little in choir. The conductor, for years we see the conductor as up here in the ensemble as down here, right? Maestro. And then his opinion is that no, the conductor and the musicians were all just participating in the same thing. So the conductor is honestly just another musician on the stage participating. So I think with that, a little bit of that mindset might help with the calypso thing, where it's like we try not to block the energy going to the audience. We made the ensemble and the art the focus, but we kind of still need somebody there to kind of like nudge it along and like, all right, we're getting excited, but don't rush. You know, the balance, we need to keep this kind of thing, that kind of thing, because it's a very practical thing with listening, right? It's a very practical, you know.
I like what you just said there about, you see, and there are people we know like this who hold on to this hierarchical power, just like, I am
the maestro.
Right. And then you just have this. And we know if orchestras, if you've been in the orchestra, you can have someone just be like, absolutely not. We are all musicians.
Yeah.
What are you coming with?
Yeah.
Come give me an interpretation and let me feel part of it.
Yeah.
Good, really good people do that, you know, lead.
Yeah.
But from a place of that, not like, and you do this now.
Yes.
And that's a whole different energy. But then you see, bringing it back down into like, it is all of us. From the philosophy, I want to say more when it's community and not individualistic. That's
In that regard, it comes down to what is most important to you as a conductor and a musician. It's not that I don't have the same kind of care and crafting, because if you all came to my rehearsal when I was teaching my choir side, Amanda, you would go insane, because I was just like, no, this one note, it needs to be like this. And you know, you just need to give it a little lean. It's not just the note, you have to into it. So I gave them all the musical nuances beforehand. So it's not as though I just left them to sing it on their own.
Oh, I know that.
On show day, you know, you do want to be able to respond to the sound.
Yeah, then let them loose a little bit, let them... Yeah.
And a big part, as you said, calypso is about communication. Or calypso, for us, is our indigenous music, or one of. And the audience knows this music so well that it's a lot easier for them to connect with the performance, because it doesn't feel as though, I'm watching a performance. It feels as though I am.
Well, to be honest, for empathy purposes, the way we feel when we see that, I mean, we as foreign people, when in a school, these other people, Chopin, Beethoven, whoever, when they hear their own music, they're like, oh, this is how our music goes. It's we who out of our culture is like, oh no, Beethoven puts the stress on this side. Those things are important, but it's like, when we listen to calypso, it's just like, that's just how it goes, you know?
But we know how it goes.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So though Beethoven in his context is, that's how it goes.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Empathy purposes.
Well, you're touching on something that I love too. Then this is my challenge for American schools.
Oh my God.
Right? And what are schools of music promoting? Not that you can't do European music, but then when it comes to that, what is the genre of music here that should be the thing? What are the local something?
That's a hard question, because it's like you ask people what's American food, and a lot of people say like you give options, and it's like, no, that food actually came from this place. No, that food actually. So what is American? Like,
so I mean, I'm not gonna go down that rabbit hole while on the camera.
I think it's the same logic though, right?
Right? But so this is my thing, and I think it comes on to what you were saying about packaging. Americans
Got that out there.
or American music has existed. I mean, look, we just did a full concert of American music. Yeah, right. That the whole program was American. Bernstein.
Oh, you're talking about? Oh, yeah.
So we just did a full program of American music.
Oh, yes, that one. Yeah.
So it's not that it doesn't exist, and it's not that it's being programmed, but I think it's about, as you said, the packaging. They're not taking a genre as it is and putting it on stage, or they're not taking a genre and using the genre as the basis and putting it on that stage.
Yeah.
What they're doing is they're taking elements of the music and packaging it in a classical sense.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it still sounds European or classical, symphonic, as opposed to it being, for example.
Yeah, he's right.
So in the piece that I wrote, the Te Deum that I wrote, I wanted it to feel Caribbean in its rhythm and its delivery. The only classical elements that I took was the writing of the parts and the instrumentation. I would write a fugue, but the fugue must feel like calypso. I'll write an antiphonal double chorus, but that must feel like a soca piece. So it is using, I'm still taking elements from both sides, but I'm not taking our melodies and packaging them in a classical way.
What's the motivation then? The motivation is to show what a classical, or how much a classical ensemble can reproduce this in its truest form, or
in terms of my piece.
Yeah, because what you're saying here is also the same thing, like going back to what we said, like Enesco and Brahms, when they're doing their folk music, they're not really showing the folk in its essential element. I would say the motivation in that case is to show that the classical ensemble, we keep using this word classical, but you know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
To show that this ensemble can capture the spirit. What's the motivation in your case?
My motivation as to why did I try to keep the rhythm?
Yeah, well, as Caribbean as possible.
Because that's how Baroque and classical music was written. They wrote their music based on dances and dance music. And we have our dances and we have our dance music. They basically based all their music on these 4-bar, 2-bar rhythmic patterns. You know, da ba ya da ba da ba ba. If I remember correct, that's a gavotte, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
And
that's it. And the saraband is ya da da.
Exactly. And for unto us a child is born. That is somewhat based on an Alaman.
Yeah.
So it has these different rhythms that apply to all of these music. I was just like, okay, well, if I just take out the classical French Baroque rhythms and I break, okay, so this piece will be an Avalou. Okay, this piece will be a Bel Air. This piece will be a Hilanto. This piece will be a Calypso.
Yeah.
This piece will be a Latin jazz. Then I can, well, it was a bolero that I did. That every movement has its own rhythmic style within our dance.
To me, the reason why I asked that question and you answered it is because there are two different philosophies here. The first philosophy that a lot of people go with, like Brahms and Enesco and these people, is that their underarching philosophy is to show how close this ensemble can capture this style.
Mm-hmm.
But your philosophy is different. Your philosophy for the way you're composing is forget the ensemble.
Mm-hmm.
This is the art form in as true a character thing it is, just with this ensemble I have.
Yeah.
You understand the difference in the philosophy? It's a subtle difference.
Mm-hmm.
One philosophy is like, oh, this is a classical ensemble. Look at what this classical ensemble can do.
Mm-hmm.
The other philosophy is like, forget the ensemble. This is the art form, and we're just using this ensemble to recreate it. That's the difference in philosophy. It's a nuanced difference, but it's hard to do that philosophy with orchestra, because the orchestra in itself is how the orchestra is. It will always have a connotation of being what it is.
Okay, I think I kind of understand.
Because,
What is it?
Because now
rooted in European kind of traditional kind of style.
Right.
so
What we understand to be European.
so I see it like as you said, I'm using the ensemble as a tool. I'm not necessarily trying to think of how does the ensemble traditional.
That's correct. That's the difference in philosophy.
So
Makes sense? Yeah.
I can say if I break apart an ensemble, break apart the orchestra, and I have all these different colors, and these colors have rhythmic tropes and melodic tropes that I tend to follow.
Yeah.
How can I take these tropes and apply my musical experiences or tastes to it?
Yeah.
So, for example, sometimes the strings will, let's take Mozart or something, for example, right? The strings will either have or or something like that, right? So, what if I took that, I went right? That it may not be as easy, but it doesn't mean that it's impossible for them to use the instrument to create these sounds. It's harder to do in the orchestra. It's just a different approach.
Yeah. There's a level of consciousness where we in the Caribbean folk music, choir is an idiomatic sound. That's just how it is. Right? So on our initial level of consciousness, we don't have to think, oh, this is a choir singing this. It's just like, oh, this is how it is. But with orchestra, we have to break that first barrier of the strings are playing, and then you reach to the point where it's like, oh, I see what you did there. There's that, and then also some things are just weird for the orchestra because of how idiomatic it is for the instruments. You know, certain things, like even in classical, like Mozart gives pianistic figures to strings all the time. All these string crossing it's like, what the hell? It's like,
It was.
the piano is like easy.
Yeah,
Bada, 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 but the strings like of string. So idiomatic is a thing too, you know, and that I think lends itself to the success of a piece actually getting the original style or not.
Right. So I mean, it's not that it doesn't exist.
No,
because right now
we're talking about different degrees of success in capturing a style.
Right now, the National Philharmonic in Trinidad, they play soca, they play calypso, and they do it fairly well, right? I was not trying to be shady. Leave me alone.
What?
They do it well. They do it well. What I'm saddened about is that they're never like released. I would really love if there can be some kind of album or YouTube.
Yeah, I was
thing.
gonna say, is there a recording?
No, it's not easy to get.
I thought these last couple of performances
they
they were
have
recording.
snippets on Instagram, but they don't have. You won't get
Not a full video on YouTube.
suite.
Why they don't?
Oh, if I mean in text.
Copyright and stuff.
Anyway, you were talking about how we were saying that how there's the maestro and the ensemble along here, and we try to get back to this. There is an inherent connection in Caribbean music with this in steel and conductor because all are we dancing together.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
All are we dancing. It had nothing like the conductor moving and the ensemble is like
Correct.
this. All are we moving and in the same kind of thing. So that is in an inherent sense of once it starts, I don't even move in my hands. It's here. It's here.
Yeah. We know. I mean, so what I want to take it even a step further, or think of traditional steel orchestras. The way how music is taught in a steel orchestra. It's not this one person standing up in front and saying, okay, you play this, you play this. It's like they'll walk around and be like, okay, I'll play this. And then they will leave the section. The section, actually what does even happen now is the section leader or the drill master, they will learn the music. So let's say one tenor leader will learn all the tenor parts, and then when they drill it, that tenor leader will be like, they will fix everybody. The tenor's like, listen, I don't understand how steel orchestras function as a classical musician, but it makes sense when you are in it.
So thinking forward, that's one of the problem with that is the time element, right? The amount of time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that it really does break the hierarchy that you're kind of
relative to the traditional European way.
Right, and so that becomes then what is the function? You see, so where it is like I'm going from gig to gig, sure, that helps solve this, but there's a philosophy of community and us working together on this, and that takes time, which is the way I look at some of these things.
I guess so, but there's the practical element where it's like, how much time can you take to like learn one piece of music?
And I think both of you are asking very important questions because you're saying what is the means? It's a means and end, and an end is panorama. So you can take.
No, he has another end too in addition to that. But
okay, but you can take 6 months to learn a piece. You can take 3 months to learn a piece. And you know that the end goal is this one performance. He
still have another end goal. I know his end goal. I know his man goal. Well, all right. The man goal is what, from what I understand, is you take all this time. Although it's one piece of music, you take all this time. There's a camaraderie you build with people. But my argument is, can you not build that camaraderie in a more, like, in another sense with this more time effective method of like reading music?
I think that is what's forgotten sometimes. And so people are rushing that.
I see.
You do that. I have seen people not do that.
I see.
And so they come in there. That's what I'm saying is a missing element.
Whilst
this one is a whole entire, okay, this is the process, and the process is the product.
Because I remember in Des Moines this year, with a professional opera orchestra, they're professionals, they know how to play together, but what he was referring to is like, it happens even on a quick basis where, even if on a short basis with highly trained musicians, you can get that camaraderie where people just know how to play together, but also know how to gel in a fast method. I think it just in a different way.
Well, my question now is, what do you mean by gel? Is it that they gel musically?
We talk about everything.
Okay, so they.
He is referring to musically, but I think every way possible.
Okay.
Now you can't really even in steel orchestra, you'll never be nicey with every single person.
It's true.
You're gonna have
People.
somebody, it's human beings, right?
Right.
But we're talking about like gel musically, knowing how people play. They might take a little extra time, even though the conductor does whatever, and you look mannerisms, right? But even on a like okay, in the American way, you finish a performance, the orchestra goes out and grabs drinks, and all of that lends itself in a time sensitive way, but it lends itself to gelling on a human level as well too. I think it's not like a Trinidadian way where we kind of a little more out and about it. It's similar.
I'm thinking for the gelling part and how like that's important thing for me. The education side of like what's an important, what are we building together for this performance and beyond that.
Yeah.
How do you gel in some way, get on board with either the vision or the whatever it is or how this song is, and it comes when your commander presence enough.
Oh yes.
Even though it's a commander presence enough of
so.
being like, okay, and here we're doing this and I'm inviting you to do this.
Yes,
I'm
I
inviting you to do
think
this.
so.
And now out of the music, how do we feel about this? Very present in the moment, and especially if the music is relevant to something that we already, or getting everybody on board to that, because it's easy then with a calypso or something that everybody knows, and we know it is, and it's just like these intricacies. What I think is lost now, and I say sometimes harder because this music becomes more and more distant to America if it is going in direction I think most people agree with, but then if you're not hanging on to the European identity of that.
I think Michael might have a lot to share in this because I suspect it happens a lot in the choir world.
Oh yeah.
Where the choir, there's a lot, like social justice, for instance, I think is
correct. Choirs, because that is such a global phenomenon, right? It has been forced into that. You can get music from everywhere else.
Yeah.
They have moved that. And my question is then for bands and orchestra, that's a part of a music school that is still very conservatory.
Oh yeah,
definitely.
Outside
of the music schools, most orchestras are institutions. Institutions that have existed for decades.
And they love to stay the same.
And so it's a lot harder for them. They're a lot more inflexible.
By choice. Sorry.
Well, not necessary. Sometimes you have the choice, but sometimes your hands are tied.
Who is tying our hands? This is what
the people with the things.
Who is that?
That's the orchestra. So that's the orchestra / opera conundrum. Because
there's some donors who want this one thing.
They want to hear what they want to hear.
Okay, so then we are motivated by money, which is fine, which is what I understand as a capitalistic place, right?
Not necessarily motivated, but like surviving.
Right? And so that is a model, I'll give us that. And it has historically been that. And so these people get to decide what persists.
Yeah.
And so to us, as new people in there, and coming with a different vision, does it mean our new visions of, calypso opera or something else, orchestral pieces, can that not get inside there? Will these overlords come and say, hey, give me back that Brahms? I'm poking at that.
It's walking on a tightrope. It's a guessing game because it depends on the people we can suggest as directors, but we don't necessarily have the power to say yes. We could fight for representation and we could fight to put it in. And I think a lot of schools are doing it now where they have, because you can't give up the completely European, you can't give up all the European music because the students need to learn the style so that when they get hired.
I like it.
Yeah, I like it too.
I know, yeah.
The man no Brahms is my boy.
That is where I'm saying it isn't, and that's been the conversation from just 2020 to now, whatever it is. Can we open up this space to include a bit more?
I think it's starting to do that.
And it is. I agree with that, and this is to make that call to people who are able to do that in an authentic way and just think that, because we realize we are few in. I can give you all these stats of what does the demographic look like of professors in schools of music. It goes to one way, and so who are the people to come in? And that is now changing. I agree that it is now changing. It is being met with some resistance, as it ought to.
As everything is, yeah. Beethoven was met with resistance too, yeah.
Correct, and so it's that same energy. When you really understand what that was and what they were doing, they were using the folk music of their time, they were using that. So them as a person was like being there and present in these spaces, it becomes you all, the people who are now have that little bit of power.
Yes.
It's a shared experience,
To
that little bit
start
of power to just poke and just be like,
Yes.
you know what? For my senior recital, for my this concert, for this thing, we're doing this, we're doing that, and this.
That's correct.
Right? Because that opens its way. It's not full assimilation, it just goes,
No.
yes, I'm adding something else to it that is creating more of this.
Yeah.
The goal.
What's the mosaic thing? Stained glass? It's mosaic? In mosaic.
Like in the church?
Yeah.
Mosaic, yeah, mosaic.
But I think what people are afraid of.
Go ahead now, man.
It's just that our goal is never to replace or remove.
Never.
It's never to replace or remove.
Inclusion.
Because
I know, Darren just shocked me sometimes. The man what?
as I said, I love me some Handel, love me some Bach,
Yeah.
love me some
Brahms?
Mendelssohn. No, I don't like.
Oh gosh, the man.
I think those people were very like artists and they still in their time. And you ask them based on what we have seen in history, like they would be open to that. They were doing those things.
Exactly. It was for them. It was about innovation and proving. And
It wasn't classical for them. It was just what was good at
what
the
they were
time.
doing.
Yeah.
And I don't see why we aren't. I don't know. Well, this is a little controversial, but I don't see why we aren't taught music from that perspective. From the perspective of not recreation, but
Sorry, you're saying was something like
creativity and innovation and improvisation and being able to understand that yes, it's important to understand context. It's important to understand who these musicians were and where they were, but also to understand that we have creative freedom.
That's my question then. Education wise, right? I see all the things we're doing. Can Mozart come to a American university and become Mozart?
I hate you for this question. It's a great question.
I feel like I don't understand the question though.
So think about
what created Mozart. Something created him, and there's a creativity in his thing. That was very thing. If I send young Mozart, if I send you to one of these schools of music here, by your degree design and whatever it is, would you be able to become that person, or will you just study his predecessors?
Now, don't get me wrong. It's not like he didn't. I mean, if we think about Schubert studied Mozart. Schubert studied Beethoven. He studied all of these older people. So it's not that he didn't. I think what they might have differently from us is that their education in music did not stop at learning how to play it.
Correct.
It stopped the pinnacle of musicianship, in my opinion, at that point in time was composition. And this is how I teach composition. This is how I talk about composition to people. I said, when you're learning English, you learn how to speak, you learn how to write, and you must learn how to create full sentences. You must, but regular conversation is an improvisation of sentences. It's an improvisation of words.
Correct.
And us as musicians aren't necessarily given the space. We're taught the tools.
Correct.
You know, we're taught this is counterpoint, this is four-part writing, this is how you treat certain. We're taught the rules, but we're taught the rules not for us to be able to use the rules in our own writing. We're taught the rules so that we can observe it and see it in other people's work. And so we're taught it as a tool of understanding instead of a tool of creation. It takes your own impetus of wanting to write to then have to do it. If you yourself don't want to write, then you're not going to write. You know English, but you're not going to sit down and write a novel. But you know how to put together a story.
And to take it a step further, what people like Mozart and these people did, like Beethoven in his later years absolutely immortalized Bach in his writing, right? Fugues and whatever. It started from them having something to say, and they found their ways of doing it, exactly what Michael's saying, through using the tools. It seems to me now, exactly what Michael is saying, is that people are trying to find the way of them saying or expressing what they have to say is in expressing the old works in their way, as opposed to using those tools and saying what they have to say in their new way. You know what I mean? So it's like for instance, often in opera world, in competitions, what people do is people listen to an aria, a singer sing an aria, to see what that singer can do with the aria. Where most times, like for me, when I listen to it, the singer is not prepared and that kind of thing is a different story. But most times, I'm not really paying attention to the singer. I'm listening to the song itself. I'm listening to what Wagner put in terms of the notes or Verdi. But most people now are like, oh no, the singer took the notes and this is what they did. They took time here, they use vibrato, those kind. So people are using the older compositions to say what they have to say. Mozart wasn't doing that. Mozart was saying, oh, all the Bach and these people, this is what they did. I'll take it, I'll develop it, but I'll make my own way to say this. That's why people like Michael and Dr. Henry are great, because they're doing the same thing. I mean, I'm not no big composer. I should be, because I just read a quote on the internet that I think is true. Well, yeah, but they were like saying, you can't really perform music if you can't create if you don't compose. Because if you compose, then you really start to ask yourself, what's on the page there? Mm-hmm. Now, I have a separate caveat to that because of this whole phenomenology thing I'm studying and the points behind why we perform music and stuff. But that's a different story.
I would love to hear what people decided. Carry on.
So what Michael and Dr. Henry is doing is great. They, in my opinion, are no different from people like Mozart and Beethoven. Because they're taking the classical forms and the tools, but you're expressing your own ideas, nationalistic ideas, just like Brahms, just like Ionescu, in forms just like that. Mm-hmm. But you are getting your personal feelings across using their tools, breaking the rules just like they broke it. Right. What makes Michael different from Mozart? Michael is doing the same. All right. But according to what he says, what he says is, who called Mozart a genius? Why can't we call Michael a genius with what he does?
I agree. Likewise.
You know. So anyway. So that's
I'm pretty sure it was Goethe who called Mozart a genius.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
But you understand where I'm coming from, though. I'm talking about saying something, utilizing the tools, but making your own way forward. But the people are starting to do that, like Janine the Bee, Dr. Ferdinand, Kwame Ryan, even from the Caribbean. I only know those people because they're really in the classical world, and like Janine the Bee and the opera, that kind of thing. I did see Janine the Bee. She just did Violetta with Traviata, and she will sing that role really well. And then when she finished singing, talking like normal Trini, like every day. Yep. I saw Royal Albert Hall melismas flying like that. But then it's like, well, when I get doubles, boy, you know?
Yeah, I mean, now...
That's great. I love that.
This is a plug-in. I am intrigued by the amount of Caribbean people we have worldwide.
In the classical field.
In the classical field doing...
the thing.
The most. And I can go back through history, which is part of some of these things I'm doing. Through history, Chevalier de St. George, George Bridgetower, there are a ton of people, and it just continues to push this.
And you were saying Chevalier de St. George is connected to the Caribbean?
Guadeloupe,
yeah. I think a lot of people in the Caribbean want to create and do exactly like what Michael and Dr. Henry did. But what has happened is that part of the system of the world is you need to kind of go through a certain system. And when you go through a system, it's kind of beat you down at times. And when it beats you down, some people don't have the mental fortitude to keep pushing forward.
I've been composing since I'm 14, right? I can remember my first composition. Wasn't that great? I remember...
some of Mozart's early compositions were...
Yeah, but he was composing at like 6.
Yeah.
But I remember giving up some of my early compositions, so like Mr. Lockhart, and I was doing some of them in church as well. And the response I always used to get was, this is too hard, right? And I understand, because I used to do things that weren't idiomatic to Caribbean music.
Yeah.
Right? I remember I wrote a Gloria, and one of the phrases was just this chromatic thing going down. And, Joanne had to tell me, she was just like, it's beautiful, but it's not something that people can do easily.
Oh.
It's not something people can sing easily. I didn't know that. I just wrote it because I like it. That's not my problem.
I have a thing to throw in with that.
So that has shaped my composition style now, where I think about how performable is this and how doable is this.
Sorry, when you finish.
Yeah, because
I like a pot boiling over right now, like you.
What starts to happen is that I personally feel as though I've lost a lot of the risks that I would have taken as a child. A lot of the musical things that I would have done for the sake of liking it, as opposed to whether or not it was
idiomatic or possible.
Yeah.
Let me throw something in here. They once asked the great maestro Beethoven, composing this thing, he said, "Maestro, the musicians, the violinists, this thing's too hard. We can't play this." So Beethoven said, "Do you think I think of a mere fiddle when the muses are speaking to me?" Beethoven was like he was like that. He really didn't care about what was
singers. I care about you. Okay.
no, but Beethoven 9 high B flats just going over and over again.
Right.
Even some of his string writing is not necessarily the best, but I mean,
his vocal writing.
It's Beethoven.
Well.
Who's going to question Beethoven? You going to question Beethoven?
I'd say Beethoven.
Well,
I'm not taking a high A. I said Ludwig.
Ludwig?
9.
You would flip this table. My God. No, I mean, alright, you have to learn what the instrument can do, obviously.
Of course,
but we're talking about Beethoven push the boundaries.
Correct.
You know, and you
that's,
push the boundaries.
That's I just looking for people.
Yeah,
to
just push
boundaries.
Yeah,
in
push
that
the
way, but
envelope.
in a
Yeah.
good enough.
Yeah, healthy
sort of
way.
way.
Yeah.
And that becomes what else can latch onto this genre and thing.
Yeah.
As I see, classical music is struggling. It is struggling and propped up by donors. Fair enough.
Oh yeah, that's
Great. And so what are things that rejuvenate it? Everybody's gone to England and said what they're doing there. It's a preservation of culture to them. That's great. And then I just come into this context and I say, I yes, and all there's both all these identities that are here, and then there's the little fusions you can have, because you all love classical music, and we have British, history that we are also connected to.
Of course, we can't deny that.
Nah.
Right, and so it becomes you all in yourself are combining these things, and so when you come here, it tends to, as I watch through curriculums and stuff, it tends to be like, you need to be able to know these set few. It's not no Fanny, it's Fanny Mozart?
Fanny
Mendelssohn.
Sorry. And
Nan Earl is Mozart,
and
Nan
Clara
Earl.
Schumann. It isn't some of these people who also have things. There's been a select, and that's fine, because that's probably a large body of work has been done for there. And so we also see it in auditions. What are the pieces likely to get you in?
Oh yeah.
To that and whatever it is. We have a set thing here. So this is the most rigid.
Yeah.
And so education-wise, I watch, we are changing things in elementary schools and being more inclusive and culturally relevant, all the way up to high school, and then you come to university and, this is what we offer.
I suspect
and
that
so there's
university
little difference.
at
Now
some
we have
point.
steel pan.
Yeah.
Right, so this is one of the last things, and I think schools that are looking to do that difference, now we have steel pan, we have different things, we've always had different ensembles, but again, even on steel pan experience, how it is taught, and how Dr. Francis is doing it here, is breaking that mold. It's giving something else, it's showing a different thing, and so whether they are in orchestral things or marching band and whatever it is, they sort of get siloed into these things. You come into this and it goes, here's a space where you go mix up. Even other people from the university were just like, no, you're on the same playing field for whatever that's worth, because we have professors, other people coming in there, just to give you that experience. Yes, this is what it's like to play amongst senior people, people who have less experience, people who can't read the sheet music, people who can't read the sheet music, people who can't read the sheet music and have a great ear, because I've seen some
There's a lot of situations.
Yes.
People,
right? And it's a different thing, and then again, yes, there's
Singers
a lot of
too, you know.
technique. Right?
It's much more prevalent in vocal.
I think so. My mom, has one of the best ears I know, but she doesn't read music.
Correct. And so it becomes, we have made this thing the pinnacle of that. And so I will always continue to ask, what would a school of music look like if it didn't require that? That's a little bit far.
If it didn't require...
It didn't require literacy. it required you to have experience of just this air training.
Ooh,
And how
Darren,
that?
that's difficult. You're undoing
It's
years.
such a great question, but I think
It's very loaded.
But it will be no. The thing is not to be one thing, right? Because I don't want it to just be that.
No, well, no. My final question before I kind of dive into a response is that would literacy be expected at the end of your musical experience?
Sure, because I want you to have both.
Yes.
I want you to have both because I believe
okay.
both help. I want you to be able to come into. We are able to do this and go into a steel pan space or some of these spaces and be like, improv. Okay, we know what we're doing. And then also come and read this thing because we have come from
like church pianists for instance.
So these places exist. My bachelor's, the school that I know it's not the norm, but what I am saying is that it should not be an expectation. That especially at the beginning of your degree, if you so I think the caveat should be: do you show the ability? Do you have the ability? Do you show not necessarily the ability to learn music theory or anything like that? That's what I'm talking about. Are you coming with musical experience that says if you add this layer of literacy on top of it, you will break the ceiling? So not necessarily that you have to be a prodigy, but I'm saying, do you show musical ability that I'm just trying to build upon?
Correct.